Okay, Nick.
Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Tilton Talk Show. Sorry about the delay in proceedings, but Chris has had a power cut. We'll discuss that in a moment. Welcome, as I say, this show is sponsored by Boylesports, principal sponsors Birmingham City Football Club, Garrison Coffee Company, and M.A.Reilly's French Polisher. I'm going to give a quick introduction to the team tonight. We've got quite a few in. So we've got Mark Adams.
Hello, everyone.
We've got Craig Courtney.
Evening all.
We've got Mrs. Browne. We've got Neil Cotterill.
Hi there.
Chairman of the board, Alan Watton.
Good evening. I've shaved my beard off.
Paul Hipkiss.
Evening all.
And Oliver.
Evening.
Yeah, Cliff Horrocks. Blues Trust.
Cliff's off camera.
I'm in the studio.
Cliff, but we can hear him. Yeah. Right, Cliff's in the studio. Right, ladies and gents, apologies at the start of the show. Chris Browne apparently had a power cut. Ladies and gents. We believe that he didn't put his 50 in the meter this morning, to be perfectly honest with you. And we saw him robbing Ellen's purse for another 50 pence, just so that we could get the show back on. We start the show tonight, ladies and gents, girls and boys, with sad news, as we quite often have to. But we always pay this respect at the beginning of the show. And one of our own, Magic Michael Johnson, his wife sadly recently passed away, Francis, and we have no words. We struggle with words when things like this happen. Michael, I don't know whether you're listening. You're probably not, mate. But I tell you what, we're sending you every single ounce of love, thoughts, and prayers that we possibly can for you, your beautiful children, your family, and your friends. Michael Magic Johnson, in respect of Francis. Awful news, and so young. Right, okay. Chris has 7 or 8 of us in the studio tonight. Chris Browne's going to be managing proceedings. He's done a fine job already of cutting us off, ladies and gentlemen. But, you know, a win for the Blues the weekend, which was an absolute blessing. It was needed. We were under the cosh for the last half an hour or so, I'd say. But for Chong to score a goal on the second minute, stunning. What a return to the game. I hope we can sign that man on a permanent deal. He's brilliant. I love him. Hernandez, brilliant. Bacuna, brilliant. Wow. And to get a win is always like a weekend builder, isn't it? You know, you've just won. The weekends are of it. Right, okay, we've got lots to get through in the next hour. We're only going to be on for an hour, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. Gents from the trust, right? Okay, what is going on? Well,
Nick, what we want to do tonight, and thank you for the opportunity.
It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, we want to talk about the fan-led review.
Yep.
Not many people know about it. But it's something that's going to change the whole game across the country from a business point of view. Premiership, EFL. It's what it is Tracy Crouch MP has put a report together, having taken evidence from clubs, the authorities, and the fans, and that's why it's called Fan-Led Review, because she's been round most of the fan groups in the country getting evidence. So she's produced a report, having got that evidence, which basically says football has become more and more business orientated, reliant on TV money, growing disparity between the top and the bottom financially, and the reason for doing this investigation and finding this out, obviously, is more clubs are financially fragile, facing administration, and having owners that basically gamble with the existence of those football clubs, and we've all seen the examples of those.
Yeah.
So, and it's most evident in the Championship where we are, because that's where most of the gambling is going on.
Because it's the biggest prize in football.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, to win that Championship, to go up either as champions or through the playoffs, is the biggest prize in football. Nottingham Forest won, Huddersfield won.
That's right. And for an owner that doesn't give that much of a care about where the club is in 10 years' time, they'll gamble with that club by overspending, getting wage bills that are unsustainable and things like that.
Been there and done it.
As a gamble to get in. We were caught out with that ourselves at one point, but we haven't gone into administration. The owners are still keep paying the debts, and even though we're running at a loss, so we're still in there. But it leaves clubs like us at the whim of the owners, doesn't it? In so much as if the owners suddenly lost interest and decided not to cover the losses, etc., we're down the administration road. And Tracy Crouch has said she wants to put together something which stops that happening in the future. So it recognises that clubs are community assets, and that owners and people running clubs should have a duty over and above normal business to be a custodian of the club and pass it on, rather than just be manager of shareholders and financial interests. Basically, the report goes on. It puts a series of recommendations there to fix football, and it basically takes the financial and business regulation out of the hands of the EFL and the Premier League, and gives this to an independent body which will be set up by the government. The recommendations are really fundamental in how clubs will need to be run in the future. Basically it says to be a professional football club you have to have a licence, and the licensing authority is the independent regulator. And to get a licence, you've got to comply with a number of rules. There's financial and governance rules in there, suitably of owners, and we'll get onto that a bit more. Supporter engagement requirements and equality and diversity requirements. And we've got Neil's got some stuff to maybe share in a little while on some detail of those things and how it affects the Blues. But it requires fairer redistribution of the financial income across the pyramid. And so to achieve this, the government will have to pass new legislation to set up the independent regulation of football. The government has accepted the report in principle. There's support from all the political parties, and it's anticipated that new legislation for this will be included in the Queen's speech in May. So it's happening.
Right, really? Okay, that's right to the top, isn't it?
Which means that and a shadow regulator will be set up soon after the May, and it will come into law by the summer of 2023 is what's anticipated at the moment. So for the 2023-24 season, everybody will be under independent regulation. There is, of course, things that can go wrong before that. Obviously, events with the government, and they take their eye off it. But and there is, of course, resistance from the Premier League, some of the football authorities and some of the clubs. Those organisations are asking the civil servants and politicians to water down the recommendations to retain that self-regulation. Yeah, so we'll be asking fans in the not too distant future, get in touch with your MPs, tell them you want this report implemented in full. And so I guess that's what it is. And then, I mean, there's 135 pages of really good stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it's a hard read. It's not a hard read, but it's a long read. Yeah, and Neil, I don't know whether you want to come in with and start talking about some of the things, and then if people fire questions at us and things like that, it'd be interesting.
I'll have to do that. I noticed there's a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask: do we know whether or not, like, the supporter groups are going to have any say in? Let's say someone was to come in and try and buy the club. You know, would they? Because obviously they talk about this fit and proper persons test, and obviously I'm all for processing that we've been doing lately to try and get new owners. Yeah. But obviously the gamble is always getting even worse owners than what we've got, and you know, being in an even worse situation than what we are. And I only hope and pray that we do get new owners one day, and they're better than what we've got. And will they get any say in that, like, you know, in any sort of fit and proper persons test for any potential new owners?
The fit and I think we've got some stuff on that in a bit, but the fit and proper persons test it will be a different test, and it's a harder test, and the new regulator will do that rather than the fans, to be fair. But probably the new regulator will speak to fan groups about it, because what will be in place is a shadow board at clubs. They'll all have to do that. I'm sorry to jump the gun on some of the detail, but And so there will be a shadow board at a club of supporters, so that the independent regulator, will have those in place. And one of the things going forward is that every club, to get their licence, has to have a plan on how they're going to switch owners if the owners aren't doing it right and stuff like that. So there's quite a lot of detail behind that. And I guess the other thing to say before asking Neil to talk about the independent regulator a bit more is, those they've got investigative powers as well. So it's not just accepting what a new owner would say; they can go and investigate them.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll cover that in a minute. Nick's got a question as well.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. This is all sounding really good going forward, right? But these responsibilities were with the EFL and the Premier League. I'll only talk about those two at the moment, the EFL and the Premier League, right? Are they going to be accountable for the mismanagement of the football leagues over several years? And they certainly have mismanaged the football league.
I mean, I think the whole idea is to, if you like, in one sense, recognise that, but move on to a new world where there is an independent regulator, entirely independent of both the EFL and the Premier League. Because if the clubs are regulated by themselves, effectively, which is what we have at the moment, it's clearly not adequate. So Cliff mentioned there's 130 pages of this report, but the whole thing boils down to about 6 recommendations. The first one is this independent regulator, and the idea is to set up something like Ofcom or Ofwat or something like that, completely independent of the existing bodies, the existing leagues, and so on and so forth. And each club is only able to operate if they get a license from this new independent regulator. And to get the license, you have to pass various tests and do various things.
Yeah.
And so it removes this whole conflict of interest and what I think we might describe as mismanagement that's been going on for so many years now. So that's the first recommendation. So completely independent, like you have Ofwat, like you have Ofcom, and so on and so forth. Cliff mentioned the new owners and directors tests. So at the moment, you've got the situation, of course, where the EFL runs its own tests, which, frankly, I'd suggest is barely worth the paper it's written on. But the idea, again, is that the independent regulator will set up a much more stringent owners and directors tests. So in terms, first of all, of the owners.
Sorry, Forest 2, Huddersfield 1.
Oh, is that your phone?
Owners have to submit business plan. In terms of the due diligence, there's enhanced checks on the source of funds, and this is developed in conjunction with the Financial Conduct Authority and so on and so forth. So at the moment, I would suggest that the checks are pretty minimal. But the idea is that the new checks will be at the same standard as applied in the financial world. So in other words, trying to get to the bottom of if there's potential money laundering, etc., going on. And in addition, if somebody, if there's a shadow owner behind the scenes, the idea is that these checks get to the bottom of that. So a whole much more stringent set of checks. Now, in our case, clearly our owners have been in place for some little while now. But what the fan-led review says is that people who are already owning clubs have to go through these checks again, these new checks.
Good.
And the idea is that they are, there's 92 league clubs in total. So the idea is you'll look at 30 each year of the existing clubs. And what we've said to Tracy Crouch et al. Is we want Blues to be in that first tranche. There's question marks about the club. So we want the existing owners to be subject to these new tests as soon as it comes into law.
Sorry, who's going to decide, Neil, which clubs get investigated first then?
So it will be the independent regulator. But what the family review says is that Clubs, how can I put this politely? Clubs who have question marks around their ownership should go first.
First, yeah,
and
yeah.
I think, I think we've got clear evidence.
It wasn't putting it politely. It was putting it truthfully. That was putting it bang on, mate, straight down the line.
So we're very hopeful that we'll be in that first tranche, and that really should get to the bottom of a lot of these questions that are out there around the ownership. I think the other thing just to say there is that the directors have to pass a test as well, and they have to show their competence and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to say anything about previous directors as to whether they'd pass that or not. I'm sure you draw your own conclusions.
Already done.
Okay, moving. So that's I think a fundamental plank, and I think it will be very valuable to ourselves in our situation. Next recommendation that should be implemented is around just general regulation of the finances. So currently we've got the sort of profitability and sustainability criteria, which effectively meant that we were fined 9 points 2 or 3 seasons back, and clearly both Reading and Derby have been fined points on that this season. Again, the thinking is that that's really not fit for purpose. What you're doing there is clubs get into trouble and then get points deductions. So the idea is those are scrapped, and instead you get a new set of regulations. But the new set of regulations is actually done in advance, where budgets have to be signed off by the independent regulator before effectively they can be spent. So in other words, effectively, clubs are limited to a certain amount they can spend on wages and transfers in advance.
Right, okay.
So the idea is we wouldn't have the situation we were 3 or 4 years back, where we splurged loads and loads of money on transfer deadline day and broke the rules there and then. So the idea is to check things in advance. That makes sense. And again, that'll be overseen by the independent regulator. So again, something that should prevent what's happened to us reoccurring again. Next recommendation is around supporter engagement. Question.
Yeah, sorry, Neil. Yeah, just going to ask, have they said anything about parachute payments as well? Because I think that is rewarding playing.
Yeah. So I was gonna come on to those.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, that's good. That's a good question.
I'm not sidekick, so I'll put my hand down.
Okay. I'll come back to that 5 minutes time. Next topic is around improving supporter engagement. So I think, frankly, up until very recently, the fan engagement at Blues has been lamentable, I'd say. Now they're trying to improve things. We're still waiting for the next fan meeting with the club. But what the fan review says is that every club have to have what Cliff described as a shadow board. So you have there somewhere between 5 and a dozen independently elected fans representing the breadth of the fan base. So could be a couple of people on here, could be a couple of people from elsewhere, a couple of people from Hack City Blues or whatever. But the idea is you have independently elected fan representatives, and again, this will be a licensed condition, and so clubs will have to do it. And the idea is that the shadow board will be consulted on both short-term and long-term business issues facing the club. So that's things like strategic vision, objectives, business plans, issues on match days, any proposals relating to club heritage items, stadium issues, and the like. So much better fan engagement. And the idea is that the directors of the club have to attend, I think, at least a couple of meetings a year on that. So it's like now some clubs are ahead of the game here and set up fan advisory boards. So I was talking a couple of weeks back to one of the guys on the Man United fan advisory board.
Who?
Yeah. But he was, their first meeting, they managed to get one of the Joel Glazer along, and And in our case, wouldn't it be good if we actually get Wong Petch or at least the chairman of the BHL board along? So I think the ball's in the club's court to perhaps try and see if they can do something on that ahead of this becoming law. But the idea here is to get much better quality fan engagement. Nick, you got a question?
Yeah. Are we actually going to find out who owns our football club, who owns our stadium, who's got shares here, who's got shares? Is that all part of this expansion?
Well, supposedly, the owners and directors test I just talked about should, but clearly we've got to see this yet, should make that much more transparent than it currently is.
Okay.
What Cliff?
Yeah, I think it's worth saying. At the moment, obviously, all the paperwork is in place for Von Petch is the owner and Paul Swen is the owner. It's just whether there is any shadow owners behind that, isn't it? And that's hidden in the BVI, the British Virgin Island Company, where you can have nominee shareholders. So we need to know whether they're nominee shareholders, and if they are, who's behind it, or if they're not nominee shareholders, to stand up and say that they're not.
Will we get that information ever?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
That's
brilliant.
That's what we hope, anyway.
Right.
And I have to say,
so it's not definitely yes, though, is it?
Well, it's not legislation yet, Nick.
Right.
So
Right.
if it's implemented in full, then yes, the answer is yes. If the Premier League managed to water it down before it comes into regulation and legislation, then maybe not. That's why I say hope, and that's why we, every football fan should tell their MP that they want this in full.
Perfect. But just on a personal, like, do you think the money machine of the Premier League, Tottenham 2, Everton 0, do you think the money machine of the Premier League will get this watered down?
I think they're going to try. We're going to try, but
I don't think they will. I think the government and the opposition parties are up for doing this.
Right.
I think the parachute payment money could cover a big. Coming back onto that a minute. It's just you get relegated and you're given. I don't know.
Millions. Ridiculous.
Well, they were told to sort that out by Christmas, and they still haven't.
No, it's just rewarding failure. I'm all for rewarding people for promotion, but for relegation, you shouldn't get any reward. It's like when a manager gets sacked as well; they get all this compensation, and it's just rewarding failure, isn't it? In the game, I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, just want an even playing field, don't you?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Do
you know what? Right, Mark.
Yeah.
If you messed up at work tomorrow in such a bad way that it's affected your team and everybody else around you, and you got sacked, tomorrow, right?
Do you know something I don't?
I'm sure you won't, mate. But like, you wouldn't go and say, "Well, you owe me, £500,000." Huh?
No,
You've been sacked. You've been sacked because you're useless.
Yeah. That's the long and short.
If it was in your contract, though, when you joined and you signed it, then
come on. We've got to sort these managerial contracts, and we've got to sort football contracts out as a whole, because it's just a stupid mess. And for somebody to kick a bag of wind around a green field to be paid, I don't know what, £1 million a week. Some of them, absolutely stupid, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Craig, question.
Yeah, I was just going to read out a couple of the questions that have come through.
Brilliant.
Box. There's a lot of interaction, as you can imagine, and some real valid questions. Some of which I'm not ignoring. I just think that they have been answered already. So, one of the first questions that came through was, do you think that club owners will have to apply for a licence again? And therefore, as they do today, almost having that magical bond, will they have to go through that process again? And I think, Neil, you've partly covered, but what about the licence? And I suppose, is there an opportunity for something to be revoked?
Cliff, I think you want to come in on that, Cliff, don't you?
Yeah. I think it is. Cliff, do you want to?
Yeah, the whole point about the the independent regulator is you'll have to get a license off the independent regulator, and before you get your license you'll be subject to those tests that Neil was talking about earlier on. So yes, and everybody will have to go through them again. It'll, as I said, people are saying it will take probably 3 years to get through, so some will be at the forefront of renewing their license and some will be at the back. But every year, once you've got a license, every year each club will have to say why they should keep it, and every 3 years they will have to do it again.
Another question from Paul McCarthy. Will this, in effect, obviously we're talking a lot about owners and the way things are run, but will this also help to protect the ground?
Yeah. So I was going to come on to the ground. I'll cover that now. So one of the things I'm about to come and talk about is something called heritage items, and so the idea going forward is that heritage items, which are the ground, club colours, name of the club, and the like, are sacrosanct items whereby if the club wants to do anything to them, they have to get the permission of the fans going forward, and the fans would have to vote on it. So let's say Hull City want to change the name to Hull Tigers. In that case, once this fan-led review is in legislation, that can only happen if the fans agree to it, and there'll be a scheme whereby all season ticket holders, everybody who's been to a home game, gets a vote, and the fans have the power of veto on those sort of things. Now, clearly, and if somebody wants to sell the ground, same thing. Now, in our case, of course, the ground has already been sadly sold, and but what the fan-led review says is that in the case where a ground has been sold to another party, then the independent regulator will look at specifically increasing the security of tenure for clubs whose ground has already been sold. So in other words, trying to give some more protections in the case where grounds have been sold. And clearly, if those protections are in place, then potentially there's more opportunity for the club to perhaps get the ground back in the longer term. So hopefully that makes some sort of sense.
One last one before I hand over, because there's a couple of hands up as well on here, is just Ray Hobro just said, moving forwards, it sounds great. However, who will be responsible for setting any punishments for such as breaking profit and sustainability rules?
Good question.
That will be the independent regulator. So again, the idea is that they will be removed from the Premier League, the EFL, but it will be the independent regulator. And it's like, if you're an airline and breach rules at Heathrow or what have you, it's the CAA who will fine you. Here, it'll be the independent regulator in the football sense. Fine you.
Yeah. What was about? Sorry, could I just ask what was actually said about parachute payment?
Yeah, should we go on to? We'll go on to the distribution of the finances in football. One of the major things in there is that the distribution, from the Premiership down to the rest of the pyramid, is not as good as it should have been in the past, and more needs to happen. And also that parachute payments, it came out as been a ridiculous thing to be doing. So the review said to the Premiership and the EFL, we're happy for you to work out how you want to redistribute the money, but you need to work it out by Christmas last. Otherwise, if you don't work it out by Christmas last, you need to employ somebody to tell you how to work it out. And they're still in that situation at the moment of trying to work it out. However, if they don't work it out by the time this becomes law, then the independent regulator has the rights to work it out for them.
Right. Okay.
And I think it's really interesting. One of the things that's happening at the moment is the EFL and the Premier League have got together and have said, you know what, we will work out the issue of the finances so long as you don't have an independent regulator.
Oh, really?
and so I think that sort of stupidity will just hopefully play into the Tracy Crouch's hands and say, that's why it's coming away from you.
Because it could all the way down to grassroots football, couldn't it? This money that they're using on parity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The FA will have the right to put the money that goes, right down the tree wherever they want. They haven't got to use it at higher levels where they've had a rule that they have to do that at the moment, and they won't have that rule anymore.
Nick, you've got your hands up.
I have. What happens if your license is either refused or revoked?
Okay, I think this is really interesting because what the independent regulator will be set up to do is to try and not get into that position, obviously, and they'll have real-time access to clubs' accounts, so that they should be able to say, before you get into a position, is some things you need to do so that you don't get into it. Ultimately, they can do the points deductions and things like that. But the ultimate sanction from
Sorry, I thought they were going away from points deductions.
Yeah, no, the whole idea is that you don't get that far. But it still will be an option if somebody is just ignoring them completely and things like that. But the ultimate sanction that they have, the independent regulator has, is that they can effectively put the club into administration, but that's not with an administrator as we know it now. The independent regulator would be that administrator and administrate it through into new ownership. And one of the things that the club will have to do to keep or get a license is to have a plan that shows how new owners, or how they will carry on operating as a club until new owners come in and take over after that point, and they'll have to submit that plan. So the independent regulator would just follow that plan through, assuming that it's
been one of the most interesting conversations I've had for a very long time. Now, here we go. Right, okay, I'm going to the next fan-led review with Chris Browne, representing the Tilton Talk Show and representing Birmingham City fans, right? And my family and Chris's family and anybody who's been there before me and my grandchildren who go, right? There is no date set yet for that next fan-led review. And weren't we promised an update on the ground a few weeks ago?
Sorry, Nick, you're talking about the meeting at the club with the Blues. Yeah. No, I haven't heard when the next meeting is. I'm hoping someone will drop through my box soon. Did they say beginning of March? Is that when they said? I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're a week into March. Yeah. We're 1 week into March, and we don't know a date. It isn't good enough. The club have to communicate to the fans properly and in an audible fashion so that we know what is going on. That is simply not good enough.
My guess is we might have a date tomorrow because I'm sure they watch this.
What? Because I'm just saying it up. Please, Blues, please.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
I'll
keep us in the loop.
I'll just go for a few of the recent questions that seem to have got missed. One from Steve Portman says, "Who are we paying this independent regulator? Not very independent if they're paid directly by football clubs."
Well, this is the perfect opportunity for Neil to do the bit on finances and distribution in football, because there's a few points on this and it answers that one, doesn't it?
So we've covered some of that, but there's a couple of things we haven't. So the first thing is that what the review suggests is that there is a what's known as a solidarity transfer levy. So at the moment you get multi-million-pound deals between Premier League clubs, players going for 50 million and so on and so forth. And the idea is that each of those transfers is subject to an additional levy of between 5 and 10% to be determined. And that levy then goes into a pot which funds the regulator and also can trickle down to help non-league clubs and so on and so forth. So the idea is through that levy, you take money from the top of the game, fund the regulator, but also fund the lower levels of the game too, if that makes sense. I mean, the other thing on the finances that the review suggests is that going forward, that any new contract has to have automatic salary adjustments if a club is relegated or promoted. So this is to try and again ensure that if clubs are relegated, those players who remain at the club have their salary tailored more to the division they're in than the division they used to be in, and it becomes a sort of compulsory part of the contract.
Brilliant.
If you recall, when we were relegated in 2011, I'm pretty sure Zigic's contract didn't have such a clause in. The idea being in future, if this comes to fruition, it's compulsory.
That's a really, really, really good point. I'll tell you what that is. I mean, like, why is sport the only, well, predominantly football, the only industry in the world that buys and sells people? Surely that's like human slavery almost. You know what I mean? Why do you buy? How can we have got into the situation where you want that player, you've got to pay 20 million for him? Huh? 20 million quid for a player, for a football player?
You can wait till the end of the contract.
Oh, why isn't right? Look, he signed the contract. Why doesn't he see his contract out?
Oh well,
but Zigic did.
I know Zigic did, and I know that he walked around St Andrews, and I watched him. Right, and I know, and I thank him for his services, especially in the Carling Cup final. But why have we got into a situation where you got football clubs having to buy and sell players in a transfer window? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Nick, I think some of the things that drive that are some of the things that are really wrong with football. It's that thing that people will overpay, clubs will overpay in the transfer market and things like that, and get themselves in a mess. Actually, clubs should not pay the sort of money that have been paid for players. They haven't got the money to do it. You know.
No. Do you know what I blame as well? I blame what do you call them?
Lee Camp.
Who?
Lee Camp.
No, the people that represent the footballers, what they call them? Agents.
Yeah.
Agents.
Oh.
Take agents out of football. End of.
Yeah.
End of. You sign a 5-year deal, you're staying at that club for 5 years, then either you sign another deal or you're available.
Yeah, there is some. Right. The fan-led review did talk about agents a little bit, but it's advised the government to talk with FIFA because FIFA are doing a lot of work on basically taking the power away from agents. But whether that will ever come to fruition and trusting FIFA with anything, I think, is a long way off.
Craig, you want to come in? Craig?
Trusting FIFA a little bit more than when setbacks there.
Craig.
Yeah, just a few more of the questions that have come through, which
Brilliant.
I think are very closely linked to what you're talking about now and salaries. So one of the, well, it's more of a comment really than a question was the first one, which was actually as a footballer, if you're at a club, right, you're not solely responsible for the fact that a team is relegated. So therefore, why would a footballer sign a contract that says I'll take a pay cut?
Because you're partially responsible. You're partially responsible.
Well, basically though, what this is saying is it will be compulsory for all clubs to have those clauses in all contracts with players about promotion and relegation, and it's to address the problem that we've got when those clauses aren't in people's contracts. You know, clubs go down and go bankrupt, don't they? And
Alan,
the whole idea of this is to have the game financially sustainable.
Alan, did you have your hand up?
But as Nick said, the players are partially responsible. Yeah. It's a team game. You know, it's not an individual game. They are responsible.
If you're on Premier League wages in the Premier League, then you should be on Championship wages in the Championship.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, your wage should sort of warrant the level you're playing at.
Yeah.
You know what? Do you know what's really upset me is that we won the weekend, and all we've talked about is this. Not that I didn't want to talk about this, gents. Believe me. I wanted this out. I want to understand what's going on, right? But like, you know, it takes away the shine off a win, doesn't it?
Yeah, but Nick, we're Brummies. It's in our DNA to be as dour as possible.
I'm coming into Birmingham on Sunday, mate.
Yeah.
Craig, do you have any more questions?
Got one from Craig.
Just the last one, reader, that's come through is just in regards to, as people are saying, in regards to the way money is separated at the moment. If this was to become in place and be law, then what would happen in regards to those Premier League clubs who were being relegated and had already signed into effectively a parachute payment from the season when they went down?
What a question. Who's that from, Craig? Name him.
From me. It's actually this one's from me.
What a rubbish.
You can get lost, mate. Somebody else has typed that out and you just claim responsibility.
No, actually, he's quite clever, actually.
I genuinely don't know the answer to that, Neil. Do you?
I think there'll be some sort of transition arrangements, I think. Yeah. You're going to be
should all be ripped up, shouldn't it? I think from the get-go, whenever it starts, everything else should be null and void that was agreed previously, I think.
Yeah.
I just don't get the contract. I don't get the contract side of it, Paul. I don't get why. Right. You know, you want to come and work for me? I'll give you £500 a week or whatever. Right? Okay. Yeah. You sign your work contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, there's no in our lives. Right. There's no compensation deals. There's no payoffs. There's no. Oh, you play cack, and I'll tell you what, we'll sack you, and then we'll give you £2 million. Right. If I don't do my job properly tomorrow, I'm out of work, mate. And I've got no food on my table. That's stress. Don't talk to me about footballers having stress. That's stress, right? A bloke who goes to work every single week, and he makes an error. He's out of a job.
Alan, did you have a question, mate?
Yeah, I'm loving all this. This is good stuff. But
I'm loving it, Alan.
There's two phrases that sort of raise a question. When we talked about regulating foreign owners and making sure they're right and proper, this country isn't very good at that. You know, we've got people who own things in our country we're actually at war with at the moment. So that was a question mark. The other thing is this business about some clubs want it watered down. Well, I think we all agreed. Well, cobblers to you. You know, you're going to be part of this. But
that's our point of view, Alan.
That's our point of view.
Their point of view, because they've got the money, they will talk. Believe me.
But equally, top six teams say we're not sharing our money. We're not paying levies to the Rochdales of this world. You know, you can stick your Premier League. We'll go and play in a European Super League.
Go.
And we're back to
go. Go. And I'll tell you what, I'll be glad to see the back of you.
That's right. And that's fine.
You know who was that team, low division team that went out of business not so long ago?
Bury.
When I saw that man on the TV in his flat cap, who had probably been going there for 50, 60 years, I sat here and sobbed. And I'm thinking, like, this is not how football should be. Even if you're in the bottom division, it's got to be sustainable. It's got to be, right, and everything. But like,
just to
you're
come
dealing
back,
with people's emotions, people's lives.
Just to come back on that. Yes, you could. We could say go and stuff it. You go and play wherever you want. But the Premier League, they wouldn't let them go. They wouldn't let them go when it was suggested a few months ago.
I'd love to know, Alan. I'd love to know who suggested that. I'd love to know the person's name.
And one thing more, good news is that Bury Football Club came back into existence today.
Yes, they did. Yeah, and that's great news.
Gig Lane is now their ground.
But where have they got to start from?
Who knows? They won't be starting until next season.
No, but where?
Bury Football Club has been relaunched. Pardon?
What league are they going to start from?
I think it's about
they'll be in the Northern Premier League.
Right.
Sixth tier.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's the Bury fans that have bought Gig Lane, isn't it, to start off start it off. So fan-owned.
What a
club there.
beautiful bunch of people! I applaud every single one of them. I promise you. Lovely.
Yeah. Talking of stadiums, can we play every single one of our games at Ashton Gate?
By new home.
By 2025, I think we'd be Champions League winners.
That'd be good.
Yeah. What a great place that is for us.
We've won 8 of the last 10 games there.
Yeah.
We haven't done that at home for 10 years. Won eight
about 8 years ago, gents. About 8 years ago, right? And Chris will have this recorded somewhere. About 8 years ago, I said, in 2020, Birmingham City will win the Champions League. Because I've got 2020 vision.
No.
He brings that joke out every month.
Anyway,
I've not said that since my birthday on Christmas Day.
Exactly.
So, Chris, who's playing squad game this week? Are we playing squad game this week?
I think Cliff should play squad game because he's totally unprepared. He hasn't got a clue what it's about.
My part's playing already.
Knowledge, Cliff, on blue squads of recent. For your life, if I went back years and asked you to name as many players as you could in 30 seconds in a certain season squad.
What, 1876?
Yeah.
If it was in the 70s, I'd be all right. But in between that and now, I'd struggle.
So I reckon, Craig, you should have a go this week because you didn't play last week, did you?
I didn't, but I was actually going to say, as cool as it is, I think we should have a Cliff versus Neil.
Okay.
Can I choose a year?
No.
No.
We could change it, I suppose. We could have him.
We need a fan-led review into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the squad list here. So
okay, let them choose a year.
Okay, so I'd like to choose 71-72.
Right. Okay.
Shit.
Okay.
That's a bit early for me, but go on.
Right, so we play then, Paul?
So what it is, basically, you tell me how many players you think you can name in the squad in 30 seconds that were in that squad that season.
Okay, I'm going to go for, I don't know, 18.
18
in 30 seconds.
Oh,
18 players in 30 seconds.
That's going to put you top of the league.
Okay, and Cliff, what season are you going for?
Oh, was that the promotion season, Neil?
Yes, it was, yes.
You obviously can't do the same season because Neil will be telling you most of the answers, won't he?
Yeah. Well, I'll go for 17 then in the same season.
So just to give you an idea, I've got 1994-95 ready to go and 2004-2005 ready to go, which is the shirt I'm wearing tonight. So if you want to pick one of them two, it's up to you.
I'd struggle.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd as soon as somebody names one, then I can start doing the team, but I just can't do years.
Okay. So we got 1971-72 for Neil, and we got 18 you're going for. You reckon you can name? So,
yeah. What was the other promotion season? That was
What, the recent one?
No, the Man City semi-final season, wasn't it, and all
74?
Yeah.
Go on, go for it.
Yeah, 74 then.
Okay.
So 74-75?
Yeah, that'll do for a laugh.
Okay, give me a minute. Someone, do you want to toss a coin, Chris?
Yeah, I'll toss a coin. Really.
Don't make it a 50, mate. Don't make it a 50p.
You might need that, Chris.
Get it in the meter.
Cliff, heads or tails?
Heads.
It's tails.
Okay, so Neil, do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Okay, so 1971-72, and then we've got 1974-75 for you, Cliff. So I'm just getting that ready. So just talk amongst yourself 30 seconds, and I'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
Just whilst that's there.
I didn't give you a number. I can do about 7, I think, 7 or 8.
Okay.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just whilst Paul's pulling that up, there's one question which is come through on quite a few occasions now.
Yeah.
And it's very valid in the current environment. So we've all seen how basically, unfortunately, the ladies' team has really suffered this season despite trying. And the question that's come up is, as part of the fan-led review, will this also cover ladies' football?
So, in short, that's good, really good question. So, in short, at the end of the review, what Tracy Crouch recommended was that there was a separate review directly into women's football. So that was a recommendation. It's still to be acted on. But
I thought I read somewhere that they were trying to kick that off about now.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, I think they are. Yes.
And one of our listeners last week sent me a message afterwards. I'm going to the next fan-led review. I will ask any question that anybody wants. If you want to ask a question, please message me with it. I promise you, I will ask your question. Right, I've got some questions in here, but I'll ask you a question. Right, if Blues get relegated, which sadly looks like they're probably going to, is that the end of the Blues women's football team?
No, it shouldn't be, should it?
No, it won't be the end.
I know it shouldn't be.
It might be the beginning of the end. No, it won't be the end.
I think they've got some support inside the club now, which they didn't have for 2 or 3 seasons. And I think they'll come back.
Going back a few years, though, Alan. Like they were in the FA Cup finals and Champions League games.
Top 3 team. It was us, Chelsea, and Arsenal.
Yeah.
10 years ago. Chelsea and Arsenal.
Sorry, what? Oh, chairman, my own mate. Manchester City came in with the money, didn't they?
Well,
and Manchester United have done the same. Yeah.
They did, but
at
the same time, Wren stopped investing in the women's team.
He did, yeah.
So just at the wrong time.
He did back the women's team, didn't he, Carson Young? He did back the women's team with somebody else's money, but he did back.
Yes.
Let's have Carson back.
Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Tilton Talk Show. Monday night, 7:30, usually till 9, but we didn't start till 8 tonight, or 4 minutes to 8. But we're going to have to stop at 9, unfortunately. And we're into the last 15 minutes. And tonight's tranche of humour, right, is going to be anything to do with a tool shed and football. A tool shed and football. And I'm going to start you off with M.A.Reilly. Whoa!
Thinking about how. Right then, Paul, are we ready for this competition, Paul?
I'm ready now.
I'm just looking at the clock.
So 1970. Sorry, Cliff, you're first, aren't you?
Okay.
I think I was first.
No, it's Neil first then.
Neil first. Sorry, Neil. So you were 1974, 75.
No, I'm 71, 72.
71, 72. So you can just to prove that this is live, if anyone's ever wondering.
Do you want a timekeeper, Paul?
I've got the time. I'm ready. Got the timer ready.
Okay.
So if you say go, Chris. That's when Neil starts on 1971.
Okay, just wait 2 seconds. Just let it sit up. Right.
Sorry. Viv Solomon Ottersaw.
Okay. Lovely. We need quiet now, Nick. Okay.
I know. I'll get excited at this moment.
30 seconds.
30 seconds starting from now.
Kelly, Cooper, Dave Latchford, Carroll, Martin, Hind, Hendry, Robinson, Alan Whitehead, Pendry, Page, Taylor, Campbell, Burns, Francis, Hatton, Latchford, Steve Phillips, Keith Bowker, Mike O'Grady, and I think the wells run dry there.
I don't think there are anymore.
I'll tell you what, mate.
That's the floors, that is.
Smash that out the park.
How many was that?
I might need to watch that back after to see how many that was, because that was too quick for me. I think that was about 16, wasn't it?
Hopefully it was 80. I don't know. I mean, I didn't count them myself.
I think it was 18, Paul.
Yeah.
We've got Nail Quinn's just come in.
Right then, are you ready, Cliff?
Yeah, go on.
Okay,
I'm still struggling to understand whether I'm in the right year, but yeah, 74, 75. Hopefully some of them are still there.
They might be.
Your time starts now.
Had we still got Francis? Yeah, Hatton. Campbell's there. Have we got Latchford? If not, Kendall, Gemmell.
Sorry. Keep going.
Page still there. Taylor.
Yeah.
Kenny Burns still there, I think.
Yeah.
Pendry.
Yeah.
Was it Harland? Roberts in the middle of defence. Roberts. Harland. Hind, wasn't?
And your time's up.
Okay.
Oh,
Struggling
loser!
How many
I
did you get?
think not just tonight, but that'll take some beating for the rest of the series, I think.
Oh, that was incredible. Do you know what? If I had a mind like that, Paul, I'd be well happy.
Yeah. It works much better on 50 years ago than it does this year, I'll tell you.
Okay, we've got a few more coming in. Hammer Boanza, Host Pipe to Wingers, Gary Rake. Oh. Ollie gonna Bosaw. I like that one. I do like that one.
Paul, do we know?
Walter Warrington category.
Concrete.
Do we know how many Cliff got then?
If any.
About 107, wasn't it?
It was about, I think it was about 8. It was definitely between 16 and 18.
No, I mean Cliff on the second go. Cliff.
On the second go, it was 10.
10 was it? I got
10.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. I'll try and get a
Not
league
bad.
table going.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, I'll be bottom.
Yeah,
So we've got Storm Caddis, Stephen Gill is now watching. Welcome to you, my friend. Level Taylor, Toolbox Legend. Toolbox Legend. Oh, where do they go from? I love this. Oh, that's my favourite part of the week. Hotter paint sprayer, stripper. Alan Shears, Gary Sprake, Rake, Lee Camp Bed. Where did that come from?
Has anyone said Hose Dominguez?
Yeah.
Not yet. No.
He's Mark in here tonight.
Yeah, what about Screw Alexandra?
Oh, I like that.
There you go.
Aaron Shears, Dion Sanderson.
Very good one.
Yeah, but it didn't make me cry. It's the ones that make me cry, Chris. That there was. Yeah. Axe Colin, Dion Sampit.
Dion Sanders.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dean Sanders. About FC Grasscutter
Hang
from
on,
Switzerland.
I'm sorry. All right. Daily had a bucket Alabola. That's my winner so far. Oh dear, Violet Stone, well done.
Traldini.
Traldini. Oh, Lindsay. Lindsay's obviously had a little tipple tonight, loves.
Oh, very clever. Very clever.
Gary Gardner.
Craig.
Oh.
Craig.
Yeah, I was just going to say, while these are still coming through, a couple of shout outs for, firstly, our show for next week, where we're going to be joined by Mr. Wilson from WM.
Wilford.
Wilford. Not Wilson.
You're going to get hammered tomorrow. I'm going to
terrible.
I promise you.
So yeah, we've got Richard Wilford joining us next Monday to discuss obviously all things blues. It'd be good being from WM, but also being a blues fan, and so that'll be a good show. And tomorrow night, Ian Dutton is actually joining Daz Hale on Radio WM, so I think it's worth having a listen to, and also, you know, where you can, phone up, get the questions in, because Ian has not been shy to answer anything from anyone at the moment, and I think it's a really good opportunity to
credit to him, mate. Honestly, seriously, credit to him, because he has. Right, Jeremy, it's your birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday to you. Now we'll all do this together. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Come on,
Blues!
I must say, I met all the Accessy Blues on Tuesday.
This what? Sorry.
I met all the Accessy Blues people on Tuesday.
Yeah, you did last week.
And I'd like to say they're all sex mad.
Absolutely beautiful people, Chris. They're amazing, wonderful. And you know what? They turn up. It doesn't matter if it's raining. They're at the front. They're rained upon. There's no protection for them. It's disgraceful how they treat disabled peoples at football.
Crazy.
It is disgraceful.
Right?
And Birmingham City are guilty as well.
Yeah.
Jeremy made me a nice cup of tea. 2 cups, actually. Very nice.
Nice.
He's seconded as well.
Yeah.
That's a good one from who said names? Where's it gone? It's gone down. Oh, Pete Taylor, Stan Ladder, read it.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Clever.
Brendan says, "Thank you." Jeremy said, "Old man." Come on, Blues. Oh, yeah.
Interpretation, that is it.
Harry Kane.
Can I just wish Conor Tierney? I think he's having his first fight this weekend, isn't he?
Fight this weekend, yes.
I wish him luck. I did write to him and say, once you've knocked all these guys out, can you take up real boxing and earn some real cash? Because I think he's got talent. He's got so much talent. He could make it in the pro game. But anyway, good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck, mate. Yeah,
and do us proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeremy apparently is eating crumpets right this moment. So there you go, ladies and gents. Jeremy, come on, Blues.
We've got 5 minutes left, so games coming up.
Nick Waterbuck.
All on Saturday.
Predictions,
Who will
please.
win?
2-1 Blues from me.
I'll say a 3-0.
And it's going to snow as well, Mark.
Hey?
And it's going to snow again as well.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, it's up to 30 centimetres predicted at the end of the week.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Horrible day.
That was Hotter's best game for us.
I mean, 30 centimetres will cover, Mark.
Hey?
Where did you pull that one from?
Just telling the truth.
You've changed.
That's just his nose. Doesn't snow in Coventry anyhow. He's surrounded by concrete, so he's protected.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Get stuck on that ring road in the snow. That's it. You're there for years.
Lee Gear is going 5-2 Blues. Lindsay is going 3-1. Ooh, and 30 centimetres is a foot, says Michael Woods.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Neil and Cliff, favourite ever Blues moment in your lifetime so far?
It has to be the Carling Cup final, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm afraid it does.
Yeah.
I remember the train ride back with a bottle of champagne on the table, and everybody stood up and crushed in that train. But it was just magic coming back, and all the game was, wasn't it? But, it has to be.
Right, Violet's going 6-0 Blues, 2-1 Blues from Linda Magna. Now, listen, guys, right. We've got 4 minutes left of the show. We've had an amazing conversation tonight with some brilliant people. If you want to join the Blues Trust, get in touch with them. It's a $5 a year. And the kind of information that we've gleaned out of you guys tonight, right, has been incredible. And the work that you're doing behind the scenes, and you don't go out and like say, oh, this is me. You're not about that, right? You're about Birmingham City Football Club, its supporters, and the care that you want to give to our football club and our supporters, right? And the information that travels to and fro, right? Listen, guys, you are welcome on this show any week. Cheers, Nick. I promise you, right? I've learned so much tonight.
Nick, thanks for that, Nick. I've got just one more thing to add. I know we've talked about this earlier on, but I think there will be a struggle on this. The forces of darkness are out there. So at some point, the trust is going to be encouraging people to write to their MP. I know Cliff mentioned it earlier. I think that's going to be a little bit later in the year, just ahead of the Queen's speech. But I think it's really important we get as many Blues fans as possible to write to their MP to make sure that the full recommendations are passed into legislation rather than a watered down version. So just a message to end on.
Only my opinion, Neil, right? Humans are lazy. Will the Blues Trust put out a letter?
Of course.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That you can just sign at the bottom?
Yes. We already have a draft. So
you know what I mean? Because
we've got a template. We're just waiting for the right time to.
If I had to sit there and type out something to my MP, well, I don't really get on with it anyway, to be honest with you. Another story. Yeah. But if I had to sit there and type out a letter, if there's a standard letter that you could put out so that people just put their name to and send it, perfect.
There will.
Wow.
Yeah, there will
You
be.
know what?
We're just waiting for the right time to send it.
And what I'll do is, I did it at the end of last show, but I'll do the same again tonight. There will be a link not only to the Trust's page via our Facebook and social media channels, but there'll also be a direct link to the full document that you can have a read through in regards to how that fan-led review looks and sounds throughout. And the one thing I think I would add is, this is about football. It's not just about Birmingham.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when it comes to this, everyone has to sign, not just Blues fans, but we need them over at B6. We need Wolves, Walsall, West Brom, everybody in the Midlands. And no matter what league they're in, they all need to sign, because this will help everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
You're absolutely right, mate. Wow. You know what? This has been an inspiration tonight, gentlemen. I promise you. Please come back on soon. Let's keep our fans updated. If we can update our fans more than the football club can, then I'm happy to do that every and any week. We've had no superstars on the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, apart from me. And
Father Christmas
dropped you off next week's show.
I do think that this program needs to be seen by as many football fans. You know, it needs to be retweeted and, you know, advertised. And, you know, I should be telling all my Southern softies down here, watch this program, you'll learn something. And it doesn't matter whether you support Spurs or Gillingham.
You're absolutely right.
You need to see it.
Watto, you're the chairman of the board, and I promise you, I have learned more tonight than I probably have in the last year.
Absolutely.
In the last 12 months, right? These guys are brilliant. Join the Blues Trust. It's a £5 a year, girls and boys. It's £5 a year. Join the Blues Trust. Get behind them, because they know what they're talking about. Right? They're very intelligent guys, as we've seen tonight. And they have Birmingham City at heart, as does Alan, Mark, Chris, Ollie, me, Paul, and somebody else. I can't remember. Right.
Cliff.
Oh, that's it. Drops.
That's Nick's squad game entry.
You know what? Right, who we got on next week, guys?
Richard Wilford.
This time, Richard Wilford next week.
So we've taken the Tilton Talk Show to Radio West Midlands, right, through Craig Courtney. The Tilton Talk, the Radio West Midlands is now coming to the Tilton Talk Show next week, right? Richard Wilford, big Birmingham fan. We'll be honest, we'll be candid. If you've got any questions to ask them, right? And we'll ask him, because we don't have a problem with it, right? We'll tell you when we find out the date for the fans-led review. Not got it yet. I was hoping for it to be tomorrow, to be perfectly honest with you. Well, petrol's a little bit cheaper than it's going to be next week.
I'll close the show with Alan Swingball.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yes.
But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, it's
Thank you.
Now we stand as Birmingham City fans with Ukraine. We stand tonight with Ukraine, and the atrocities that are going on over there. It's absolutely vile. Watching it on the news is a disgrace. It's a disgrace, and we send our love and our best wishes to everybody over there. Very difficult as to what we do. Who's that ugly bloke behind you, Chris?
No idea.
But tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen, is obviously dedicated to Frances Johnson, wife of Michael Johnson, who sadly passed away recently. Michael, we just send you all our love, I promise you. We genuinely do. You, sir, are a lovely man. You're one of the best people that the likes of Dev knows, and they know you more than I do. I've seen your wife a couple of times, and she was absolutely beautiful and absolutely lovely. Hey, what can we say? We'll be back next Monday, 7:30 through till 9. And thanks to Alan.
Good night, everybody.
And thanks to Neil.
Night.
Mark Adams.
Good night, everyone. Have a good week.
Hang on, I've gone the wrong way. Paul Hookus.
Good night, all.
Craig Courtney.
Good night, all.
Chris Browne. And Ollie.
Good night.
And who's the other bloke? What's his name? Neil.
Cliff.
Cliff.
Yeah. Good night, everyone. Thanks for having us on.
Cliff, it's been an absolute inspiration, mate. I promise you, it really has. That's like opened my eyes proper tonight. And, it's raised me a few more questions that I will ask at the fans review. Tottenham 4, Everton 0. Oof, crikey. Well, look, we're going to need you.